What the city is talking about. This is Montreal Now on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. And Jim, before we get into this whole constitution for Quebec, I want to ask you what you think of this story today. And we're seeing, I said, we've been checking with the Quebec Community Groups Network ever since Jean-François Roberge, the language minister, said he would be meeting with English groups to clarify his position on those OQLF directives. So the story this afternoon is no one's inviting anyone from QCGN to go. The letter says we are not surprised to be left off the list of handpicked invitees for a meeting about language directives in the healthcare system. And then it says we are given to understand that some individuals or groups who had been invited, now this is supposed to be happening tomorrow, have chosen not to attend because they share our view that the meeting should be with Monsieur Dubé, the health minister, and not the French language minister. What do you make of this?
Oh, I think it's perfectly appropriate pushback. I think as well that this is you can see the hand of François Legault in this in cherry picking who gets to go to the meeting. Clearly, QCGN has been, relatively speaking, one of the more vociferous critics of this rubbish that's coming out of Legault's office concerning Bill 96 application to healthcare. And honestly, it was a put up job, Aaron. I mean, they're trying really to make this go away, but they're 1,000% right. This is a healthcare issue. This is not about a collection of overpaid party apparatchiks hired to expand the what should more accurately be described as Quebec's Department of Identity. Okay, it's got nothing to do about promoting French. What we're seeing with the application of Bill 96 for healthcare that targets non-francophones, targets anglophones, has got zip all to do with protecting French. It's got everything to do with making anglophones and people who aren't named Tremblay uncomfortable in a system they're paying $1 billion a week for. So frankly, if they're trying to set this up to fail and say, oh, look, see, they don't even want to talk to us, too bad. Christian Dubé for sure. And honestly, can we get Monsieur Girard, Eric Girard, the minister responsible for patting Anglos on the head, to come out of wherever he is, and even do it remotely if he's on vacation, and just spend like the hour and a half and really talk about this? Because guess what? The more they keep jerking us around on this story, the bigger it gets. And if they haven't figured that out in the past 2 weeks, believe me, the next 2 weeks they're going to figure it out. This story is not going away. It's front and center. And what's really, I think the really rewarding aspect about this is a story like this now has got its own legs. It doesn't need the endorsement of French media's attention. It certainly doesn't need, and I know you ask it often, Aaron, you go like, where's the Quebec Liberal Party on this? I got to tell you, the reality in the here and now, in August of 2024 is, who cares where the Quebec Liberal Party is on this, okay? There are a lot of people who are doing a lot of heavy lifting on this. The Liberals have kind of discovered it now, and we'll get to that in a minute. But the bottom line here is François Legault can no longer, how can I put it, change the channel, do all this mise en scène, create this narrative. Oh, look, they don't want to talk to us. We want to talk to you, all right, but we want to talk to the people in charge, not to your front man. Certainly not Jean-François Roberge. As I say, the minister of a portfolio that was designed basically to keep Quebecers scared and in the dark about what's going on in their own province.
To your point, Jim, so no Eric Girard, no Christian Dubé, really no François Legault either. It's just been Jean-François Roberge. And I understand it's the summer and people are away, but it's funny because when I came back, I said, for a summer where nothing's supposed to happen, look how much has been happening. But as far as those ministers go, they're basically, MIA.
Listen, maybe I'm too old school. I'll cut Legault slack. I don't think Legault has to be there. I don't think this is an issue directly for the Premier of Quebec. The minister responsible for relations with Anglophones, yeah, I think he should be there. And certainly the health minister, the utterly bilingual health minister, who, quite frankly, I think would rather be a zillion other places than in the middle of this story. He's got to be there too. But no, they're giving us Quebec. Franchement, though, we saw what a great job he did of following up when he was education minister in the middle of COVID. We'll get the same thing here. So if groups are turning around saying, stick this meeting, go ahead, stick the meeting. But please don't turn around and pretend because you want to treat English Quebec like it's some kind of fringe movement. Okay? I got news for you. Things are changing, and they're changing at an accelerated rate thanks to this government's arrogance and incompetence.
Franchement, I love that French word. So let me ask this then. With respect to what we're hearing today, and he's going to be in studio in about 15 minutes, Antoine Dion-Charest, who, among other things, says he will now run in 2026.
Yes.
Where did this idea of a Quebec, have you ever heard this before? And I know the idea of, the Constitution has come up before. Did this kind of come out of left field, this idea that the if you want to call them the youth wing, but I understand the party will get behind this, wants to have Quebec's own constitution? What do you make of this?
They want to crack into the whole identity game, okay? Because whether it's Francois Legault who started the whole thing, but now he's scrambling after the PQ because ever since that by-election loss last October, it's like the guy's got post-traumatic stress syndrome. The whole idea of identity has been hijacked by the PQ and hijacked by the CAC to create this non-existent crisis. I mean, I was perfectly prepared, Aaron, to when I came on today to turn around and say, thank God, all those times the switchboard at Montreal now melted whenever you said, the question, should Quebec have its own constitution, said nobody ever. Because this is the reality. People don't want to talk about the Constitution. The Constitution as well is nothing more than the operating instructions for a government. And Quebec may not have a constitution in and of itself, but there's by the way, a Canadian constitution, which to a certain extent governs how Quebec is how it operates. We have all kinds of laws, all kinds of regulations, which, when considered together, constitute our Constitution. The idea now that we're going to have this kind of airy-fairy document that's for some reason going to protect us from the PQ and from the CAC. Listen, we've learned to our cost that constitutions, charters of rights can be circumvented, can be detoured, can be amended. They are, quite frankly, in this country at least, becoming their value is increasingly becoming cheapened by politicians, and especially in the past 10 years, politicians who are using it as nothing more than a justification for them to type up, or scribble legislation on a cocktail napkin, ram that through with a notwithstanding clause, and that's it. That this is how we're going to operate. So please, when you turn around and say, "Oh, we're going to have a constitution of Quebec," be very careful with how you sell this, because you guys, presuming you ever form a government again, you're not going to be around forever. What's the next government going to do with that constitution, right? Especially if they have a majority, if they amend it? Once you open that door, and especially what's the relation going to be to the Canadian Constitution? Will it have its own notwithstanding clause? I mean, how complicated is this going to be, and how many people are simply going to zone out because, they totally do not care? I have a lot more confidence in a Liberal candidate, a Liberal leadership candidate, who turned around and said, I don't need a piece of paper to tell you that the PQ is blowing smoke about independence. I don't need a piece of paper to tell Quebecers, right-thinking Quebecers, that the CAC is perhaps the most divisive government in the history of Quebec, and basically is fueled by fear and division, which it gleefully promotes every chance that it gets. So really, I think to a certain extent, they're going the wrong way here. And on top of everything else, when you get in the middle of a constitutional debate, especially in these here parts, Aaron, people's eyes glaze over. Does the Liberal Party, the Quebec Liberal Party of 2024, really want to become synonymous with something that, they would recommend do not drive or operate heavy machinery after having engaged in it?
I wonder, though, Jim, to be fair, if you can be, and I'm kind of with you on this, I don't get it either. But, the issue for the Liberal Party has been for the last few years anyway, forget about the flagging support from the English community. I mean, what are they, 3-4% as far as Franco are concerned?
6.
And if you want to, is it 6?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've been away for a month. If you want to win some of that support back, Is this the way to do it, by bringing up a constitution?
No, it's by telling them how you're going to build houses. Honest to God, build houses for them. It's telling them how they're going to be able to get by in what economic times that for most people remain very uncertain. That's what governments are supposed to do. They're supposed to look after you. They're not supposed to give you some lecture that causes you to pass out because we're talking about all kinds of abstracts. And the idea of trying to link protecting you from a particular party, no matter how reprehensible you may find that party to be, I think is fundamentally wrong. That is not what constitutions are supposed to be about. Constitutions are supposed to transcend politics, transcend policy. They're supposed to be documents that are made to last and not to address some immediate threat from the CAC or the PQ. If there's language in the Constitution that will protect us from any government that would turn around and abuse our rights as defined in either the Canadian and or Quebec Charter, then that's fine. But as long as those rights are subject to a notwithstanding clause, and we've seen how much damage that can do, that made in Canada constitutional amendment can do here in Quebec, anything else is just a waste of time.
James Mennie at the Montreal Gazette. We'll see what Antoine Dion-Charest has to say to that. Jim, thank you.
Demain.